Shalom family, the Blue Magician is back with more magic today, and today I want to talk about the wheel of life and how we all have a position in the wheel of life, okay? This is important to know because a lot of times we adapt this mindset that we have to fight for our voice to be heard, when in truth our value is absolute as well as the value of others. Okay? Now, there are a few scenarios where we almost go through things that make us forget that our value is absolute. Okay? In my opinion, the main reason for this is because we feel as if others have violated or disrespected our values, and that is hard for us to move on forward from. Okay? And the second reason is because of regret. A lot of times there's actions that we take and we regret making them in the future, and after that it leaves this feeling of questioning our worth. Okay? And so that can be tough for many people. And the last reason, but of course, it is definitely, there's more reasons than that. But the last reason that I'm going to touch bases on in this video is the fact that we forget that there's virtue behind even the not so grand and special things that we do. Okay? And so, starting with the first reason of feeling as if our values have been stepped on, or in some way we've been violated, this kind of leaves a empty gap in the relationship with ourselves because of what someone else, how they treated us in the past. Okay? And one thing you must understand here is that there are people, and there will be people in the future that will embrace and appreciate and admire your values. Okay? A lot of times in life there is people, or you might be in a position where you are dealing, or you've dealt with people in the past that don't share the same values as you do, and they conflict. Okay? But even being the point of this video, everyone has a place. So if everyone shared the same values as us, then it wouldn't be life as we know it. So it's important for other people's values to conflict our own, so that way we can get a greater understanding of our essence in this lifetime. Okay? It's compare and contrast. Now, one thing that will help you attract more people that appreciate and admire your values moving forward in the future is when you yourself learn to appreciate and radically accept yourself. Okay? And the way we do this is by acknowledging our assets and our weaknesses. Okay? So you want to appreciate yourself for who you are, regardless of how others feel about your values. Okay? It's special to you, and your goals, your dreams, your beliefs that absolutely come from your core, not things that you've learned. Okay? But your absolute pure expression. Okay? Sometimes that do come from things that we learn, but they just highlight something in ourselves that's always been there. Okay? But I wanted to emphasize on the distinct difference between values that others give us and values that are innate. Okay? And so you must learn that it's okay to have weaknesses. It's okay to have blind spots. It's okay for others not to understand your values. That is okay. But you don't have to, when you get around others, speak with so much tact, okay? Like you're trying to be careful around them, not to be yourself because you're afraid that they won't accept you for your values. If they won't accept you for your values, then those are most likely people that do not need to be in your life in the first place. Because as long as your values isn't disrespecting another person's integrity, then they should learn to accept you, okay? Because there's a fine line and a fine difference between wants and needs, okay? And if your values is just conflicting with someone's wants, then and they cannot learn to compromise, to learn to accept you, then that's most likely someone that's not healthy to be in your life in the first place, okay? So it's important, again, for you to first learn to appreciate and embrace yourself. That takes time. It's a self-commitment. It's a long distance journey. It's not that you just tell yourself, hey, I love you, I appreciate you. But it's something you show through your actions by sometimes choosing you instead of another, okay? Always being self-sacrificial sometimes of your values. That can be hurtful in the long run to you and to others even, okay? So learning to choose and put you and your values first in your life as a commitment to yourself before you get into a committed relationship with a partner or a friend or a colleague, anything of the sort. You want to make sure that first you're in a long-term commitment with you, okay? And that you are aware of what you value, of what you appreciate. You are aware of your own weaknesses, what you need to work on, so that way you can be accountable. Okay? Radical self-acceptance isn't an excuse to just become comfortable and write off your wrongdoings as it's okay for me to be this way. No, it's saying it's okay to have weaknesses, but here's where I can grow. Here's what will be best for me. And for right now where I'm at, I accept myself and I will take full accountability because I love myself and because I want to be my fullest expression, okay? So again, that takes time, and it's not even something that I can help you with in this one video. But I can tell you it's a self-committed journey, and you just have to learn your values and why they are so special and dear to you, and also learn your weaknesses, learn to embrace and appreciate them and not be ashamed of them, okay? Because in the long run, that will allow you better able to be able to receive help from others, okay, that admire you and your values. So that covers the first reason. And now moving on to the second reason of regret. I just want to say that regret is actually a very healthy part of life. Because all in all, we cannot go throughout life not making mistakes. For one, that's not the point of life, right? There is nothing in life that is perfect because nature doesn't think or work that way. It tries something. If it works, if it does good, it will continue to flow. If not, you will notice that it will try something else, okay? And that's the simple flow of life. But that's just because failure is a stepping stone to success. When you see what you did wrong, you can now take different actions. Okay, now it gives you permission to do things differently, so that way you can achieve the desired results that you want. Okay, so don't be mad at your past actions, that you didn't start a business in the past, that you didn't reach out to a loved one in the past, that you didn't take the risk that you wanted to take in the past. Don't be mad at that, because there's still time now, moving on here in this moment and forward in the future. It's never too late. As long as you have time on the clock, it's never too late. That's what you must understand. And most importantly, I would say there is never mistake your own value with an action or a doing. Okay, we too much place our actions in, say for example, someone doesn't get a job position, or someone doesn't make a cut or try out for, they don't get on the position of the team that they want to get on. Then they always think about themselves in that light of not being good enough because they didn't reach to those standards and measures that they wanted. But you cannot be an action, right? How can you, a being, an actual thing, be an action, right? Like you do actions, but you aren't actions, right? It's like all of the thoughts that pop up in our mind. Yes, they are our thoughts, but we are not them, because they come up and they disappear back to where they came from. So you could say, well, I had a not so sharp moment, or I had a low moment, or I had a depressed moment, but I am not depressed. I am not weak. You can't say that I am not good enough. Because next time, I will do my best to do better. Okay? So you understand, you're always here before the action. Okay? You give rise and meaning to the action. It's not the other way around. Okay? So you must understand that, because an opinion of you will never amount to you. Simply, period. Okay? Your opinion of you, and even others' opinion of you, will not amount to you. Okay? Can't amount to you. Matter of fact. So it's important to understand that. And moving on to the last reason, which is when those who don't recognize the beauty and the value behind who they are. I think this is because virtue tends to hide in the places that we don't look, right? And I believe that's why humans are always looking for God energy. It always feel like it's behind your head, or it always feel like it's above your view, right? Or it always feels like somewhere that's invisible. It's in the next realm from here, but it can see you. It have access to you. It's because virtue seems to be in the places that we tend to acknowledge the least. Okay? And so a lot of times we're looking for these grand, special things about us, right? Fame, status, money, all these grand things that we compare from what we see around us and what we see on social media and what we see in other different groups. We compare ourselves to those things because that's how ego forms its worth. Ego tends to form its worth based on comparing to other things, right? Because, say for example, if we all had the same things, it would not be special. But it's because some other people tend to have things that all people don't have. Then you say, okay, this is me, this is my status and position, that's theirs. But that's an egoic thing. It's based on compare and contrast. But again, virtue is not in those grand things that we tend to deem, but it's in things that it don't need you to acknowledge it, right? So, say for example, true virtue is the sun being there every time you wake up. True virtue is having access to food, the earth providing food. True virtue is being able to take a breath, But those things, you don't acknowledge it all the time. It's as simple as being, right? And so, but those virtues, they don't even compare to the virtue of status and fame, something so superficial, right? It doesn't compare to that, something that comes and it goes away. But those virtues are everlasting And even just the simple things about you to make the point is tends to be the greatest things about you, because it's you. You're different. We all have virtue naturally, even in the things we don't see it with. Your virtue might be that you have the ability to work well with different groups, right? Or your virtue might be that you know how to motivate others well. Or your virtue might be that you're a great writer. Your virtue might be that you're a great commentator. Your virtue might be that you love to compliment people, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but even though it seems simple to you, it still has much value in virtue. Okay, so that's important to understand. And now that leads me into talking about also, once you learn to embrace your value and your weaknesses and everything about yourself, you must learn to embrace those same things in other people. And I'm not talking about what you see in yourself, embrace it in others, but embrace others for what you see in them. Okay? And learning to do this with yourself, as I said, it's a lifelong journey. It starts to open up your heart more and more, so that way you can learn to do it for others, because it builds tolerance. You see that your own mind isn't as sunshine and roses as you thought it was, or you wanted to believe that it was, because you acknowledge, hey, sometimes I can be a Debbie Downer, or sometimes I can be a little bit mean. And so when you see others practice certain things that you might not like, you learn to have more tolerance with them, because you understand that as a human, there's things that we do that it's much difficult to control because it's in our nature, right? Or it's bad habits that we picked up. So you understand that everybody is lovable and everybody has values, and it's important to learn to give other people compliments as well. Okay, learn to compliment people instead of always look for compliments. It's because we always want to shine, and we always want our voice to be heard, and we always want to be recognized for everything, that we'll try to take the merit in simply everything without caring to give merit to others, when that's just as virtuous, right? So it's important for us to put our ego aside and say, hey, wow, you're really great at that. I can learn something from you there. Put our ego aside and learn to take things from others and compliment others, so that way our relationships can thrive with others, and it can also thrive with ourselves, because that same tolerance we practice with others, we'll also learn to practice that same tolerance and compassion with ourselves. Okay, so it's an inner outer thing. Okay. Other than that, I would say it's also important not to just look to attract relationships that reflect your values. Okay? Now, before I get into this point, I just want to say there's a fine line, there's a fine difference between wants and needs. Okay? Now, your relationship and connection with another person, there should never be no compromise if they are disrespecting or violating your needs, okay? Your integrity, things that you cannot, there is no compromising on it, okay? That can simply look like people disrespecting your character, calling you hurtful names, right? Or doing anything to basically take away from your integrity. For some people, depending on the situation, this could be in a relationship, a need for them is loyalty, right? And so normally needs are things that they're put in place to protect our standards, okay? our standards, our value, what we pretty much expect without like no compromise from others, okay? Now those are important to have so that other people just don't treat you any kind of way. But you must be able to tell the difference between needs and wants. A need isn't being able to, in a relationship, curse at others. A need in a relationship should not look like always being able to, like never being able to be reliable, right? So you have to get better at distinguishing needs and wants. And once you can understand that, then you will learn, okay, well, wants are much more compromisable, okay? Like if you say, for example, like something it's very simple. You have a simple hobby. It's not something that you really care so much about. It's not integral for your being and success as a person, right? A simple hobby of drawing, okay? And your partner or your friend asks you to do something, and you kind of got to interrupt that. Okay, you can compromise on that, okay? Because it's not a need. And sometimes with your wants, they will be met too. But sometimes you will have to learn to compromise on your wants, and others will have to learn to do the same thing for you. Okay, that's very important and detriment to the success of a relationship, a healthy and successful relationship with friends, family, and romantic partners. Okay, so you must learn to distinguish the difference, because once you can learn to exist with others that have conflicting values from you, right? But they're not in any way, because their value is something different than yours. They're not disrespecting or violating your needs or your value, okay? But they might conflict with your wants, okay? Sometimes we want to be comfortable and stay in a certain domain. Say, for example, I fell in love with this little setup that I have here, and someone's offering me something different because they see value in me, but it conflict my want. Like, whoa, I don't know if I'm ready for that, kind of thing. You understand? But I have to kind of get outside of my comfort zone to grow. And so you should also look to attract people, relationships that conflict with your values so that they can help you grow. If you're somebody that moves slow in life, look for somebody that moves a little bit more faster with things. If you're somebody that's always nitpicky about things, you're always so perfectionist, look for somebody that can help you relax a little bit in that area. Okay? So they can challenge you, because opposites and polar extremes, they create amazing things in this lifetime. I'm telling you. Okay? The earth has a north and a south pole, and without the both of them, earth couldn't function like it do. You understand? So it's important to understand that polar extremes or people who conflict your values isn't a bad thing, but it's also what helps us to not be delusional sometimes, because a lot nowadays, especially with the media, we're always being recommended things and videos and things like that we already like and that we value. So we tend to keep those same value and beliefs that can be hurting us. So it's important to understand and to know the fine line and difference, okay, between what's compromisable and what is not compromisable. Okay, so I pretty much touched the basis on everything that I wanted to talk about today in this video. I feel like this one was something I actually experienced a bit of this week, not wanting to again get outside of my comfort zone and take constructive criticism. A lot of us struggle with this, but it made me realize the importance that constructive criticism and working with others never has to look like it takes away from your value or from their value, but we all have a place and position in life. Okay, So that is all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next Saturday with another magical video. Peace.